What's up, everybody? My name's Lucas, and welcome to the start of my Hearts of 4 German Reich Let's Play. So, we're gonna play as Germany. We're gonna try to stay pretty historical, and yeah, we're just gonna keep it on regular Iron Man. Yeah, we'll keep historical on. Kind of wanna, I guess, recreate as much of World War II as I can. Um, Maybe see if I can have the Axis win this time instead. So, love this game. I've had countless hundreds of hours into it. Still not really an expert, I wouldn't say. Um, I'm average, I guess. Like I don't know like all the best division templates and all the best research strategies and national focus strategies, so don't be expecting this to be like a high level um, deal, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I have a history degree. I have a bachelor's in history, and I have studied World War II more hours than I could possibly ever count. I know a lot about it, probably more than 90% of people out there. And so this game's right up my alley, being a World War II sim. But yeah, been wanting to do this for a while, this Let's Play. So I figured there's no time like the present. Let's go ahead and get our stuff set up, our production. Probably going to focus mainly on submarines for our Navy. We might build one or two heavy ships just to give us the chance to invade Britain if we want to. But we'll just, even if we don't try to do that, we'll still have it. We can have them convoy raid in the Atlantic. Let's see. Let's go and get some naval bombers building. That'll help us get naval supremacy whenever we need it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get time rolling along. So, also want to preface, obviously this is a video game, but I obviously want to preface this by saying, obviously what the Nazis did in real life is unspeakable and it's horrific. But I enjoy learning about the German army, the Wehrmacht. I think it's fascinating how a relatively small country like Germany, I mean it's big in Europe, but like a relatively small country was able to almost take over the world. I mean they were damn close in 1941, and like how they were able to do that, just being so outnumbered and so their enemies having such bigger industrial might and all that. So it's always fascinating to me how good of not how good of like engineers they were, but at the same time they were they had a lot of problems with their machinery. Like their tanks were second to none, but they broke down really bad. So are they really the best tanks of the war? It's debatable because having a less good tank that doesn't break down all the time might be preferable to a good tank that breaks down a lot. So yeah, I kind of want to, like I said, I want to do this kind of historical, so I want to gobble up Austria, Czechoslovakia, and then take out Poland. Then maybe we might get Norway. I don't really see the... In real life, Germany took over Norway because they got a lot of their iron ore from Sweden, and the port that the iron shipped out of was Narvik right here. And Germany was afraid that Britain would either set up a blockade of Norway, or they would take over Norway itself, or Norway would join the Allies, and that would cut off their iron ore shipments that they desperately needed. So that's why Germany invaded Norway. But in the game, let's see, do they have any? I mean, they have some resources. They have some, is that aluminum? Yeah, some chromium, I guess, or tungsten rather. So I guess it's somewhat worth it. It's just you have to have, kind of like in real life, the Germans took over Norway and then they left about 250,000 men in Norway, even though, like, because Hitler was determined that that was what the, like, U.S. and Great Britain were going to take first whenever they attacked, which obviously wasn't the case. And all those men that were up here, like, there's no telling how much good they could have done on the Eastern Front or in Normandy. But yeah, we'll see. We might do it whenever the time comes. Then obviously we're going to try to go through the Benelux and take out France. And if Italy hasn't capitulated in North Africa yet, we will try and help them out. Then of course we have our showdown with the Red Terror to the east. Yeah, this game's great. Like, if you're a fan of strategy games, if you're a fan of grand strategy games, if you're a fan of history, World War II especially, like, this is the game for you. It's so much fun. And I'm gonna be doing like a quote-unquote realistic, like, historical playthrough. Like, even on Germany, like, here I'll show you. Like, you can go. This is like the historical path. So you reoccupy the Rhineland, you annex Austria. If you go over here, you can oppose Hitler. You basically assassinate Hitler. There'll be a civil war, and you can actually. This is a fun path. I've done this before. You bring back the Kaiser, so you bring back the German Empire, and then you can basically, like, revive the Central Powers, or you can actually join Britain if you do this one. Or if you don't want to go that, you can come over here and you can either go communist or democratic. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, and obviously every country pretty much has an alternate path like that. Like, you can go over here to Britain, you can go fascist, you can go communist, you can give the king like a lot of power like you used to have in the Middle Ages. Just all this different stuff you can do. It's really cool. Do I want that? Sure, I'll take that. Yeah, you come in here, if you never played this game before, you come in here to your laws and government, and you get political power, which is up here, and then you can pick different bonuses and stuff, or you can come down here for your military staff, you can get different bonuses. These guys give you different bonuses to different parts of your army, so it's really cool. Okay. Yeah, we want to build these ships that we have already building because we already have they're already partly built, so I think it's kind of a waste to not go ahead and finish them since they're already almost, or part of the way complete. Part of the way complete. But that's just my opinion. That might not be the most optimal way, but it's what I do. Yeah, this game, like, also this game is really good if you have friends who are willing to play it. Like, this game does take a while to play online because you're not gonna be able to go max speed because the game lags. But like, me and my buddy Cody, we played one game, and I was Italy, he was Spain, and kind of like he took most of France. I took like all the Balkans and this part of the Middle East, and he took this part of Africa. It's just a lot. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do. And there's like another game that we played with me, Nick, and our friend Cody, or our friend Nick rather. Like, I was Japan, Nick was India, and Cody was Australia, and we all joined together and just took over all of Asia, and we split it up between ourselves. It's a lot of fun. There's just so much random stuff you can do. Like, there's, and no two campaigns are the same either. Like, you can uh, play as like historical Germany, and like every game's gonna be slightly different, which is awesome. So always a new scenario to go through, which is very nice. Okay. So we got our troops over here in Austria. I mean, I doubt they're going to deny the Anschluss, which is the annexation, but if they do, we'll be ready. So, yeah, we'll probably give Slovakia, which is this area right here, we'll probably give this to Hungary, because if you do that, it gets them to join, and it makes them a little stronger because they'll have extra land. So it'll get them to join the Axis, and that'll give us another front against Poland. So they'll be coming in from the south, while we're coming in from the west and the north. Yeah. Let's see. Any other basic things? Let's go to dispersed industry. Yeah, so what's I about to say? Yeah, so I might very well fail this campaign. Like I said, I'm not like a complete expert at this game, so it's a very real chance I might fail, especially against the Soviets, because it's the Soviets and they have basically unlimited manpower, which is a fun time to deal with all around. Okay. I think we'll get these two, get us those extra civilian factories really fast, and then we'll go Rhineland. I guess if you're going like true historically, you would go Rhineland first, but there's not really a bonus to it. Or there is a bonus to it, but it's not worth it right at the beginning because it produces world tension, which is up here. And basically, world tension affects how some countries can operate. Like the United States, if you go in here, they have the Great Depression, and that obviously makes their country, they're not able to produce a lot of military goods and stuff. So being able to keep them from changing off of the Great Depression and going to like a better economy is very crucial. And once world tension gets to a certain point, like 25, 30%, they can get off of Great Depression, and it makes their country a lot stronger, basically. So the longer you can keep them from doing that, the better. I'd love to hear y'all's favorite, like if you're a fan of World War II, I'd love to hear your favorites, I guess, area of World War II to study. Like, I've started learning a lot more about the Eastern Front in recent years. Like I used to, like honestly, as a kid, I think this is kind of like the jingoistic education that we get in America, obviously. But like, you really only ever learn about the Western Front in school. Like, and I was always under the impression that like Germany basically controlled all of this until we invaded, we beat the Germans all by ourselves, which obviously isn't the case. Like most of the fighting actually took place in the east in this region. But yeah, I've been learning a lot about the Eastern Front. Like it's just, it kind of boggles the mind how monumental these battles were that took place over here. Like just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of men just throwing themselves at each other and dying in droves. Like it's kind of, it's terrifying to even think about, but let alone even imagine being a part of it. Let's see, let's go ahead and start just some units training. Think about Germany, you need to, for some of your focuses, like if you want to annex Austria, let's see, you need 500,000 manpower in the field, and we only have 269,000, so we need to change that, obviously. But yeah, Africa's actually like one of my, like once I got into college and I started studying World War II a lot more on my own, like Africa was actually, North Africa was actually a big point of interest for me because it's amazing to me, like I was talking about earlier, how the Germans were able to do so well even though they were fighting basically the entire industrialized world by themselves. Okay, wait, one sec. I need to send volunteers to Spain. Pretty sure we'll only be able to send 2 divisions, so let's do that. Who do we want to lead our volunteers? We got Heinz Guderian. He's kind of the architect of Blitzkrieg or Bavarianskrieg, whatever you want to say it. I've read that Bavarianskrieg is actually a more accurate term. It basically means war of movement in German. I learned that from a guy that a professor at my college. He's specializes in German history, and he obviously he actually wrote a thesis on the propaganda that the Germans used in World War II, like Joseph Goebbels and all that. It's very fascinating. I haven't read his dissertation, but I'd like to one day. But anyways, like I was saying, North Africa, like the fact that the Germans were able to hold on for so long without like the absolutely abysmal supply issues that they had is kind of impressive. Alright, let's get this. And then we'll get Rhineland after this. It's like continuing what I was saying about North Africa. It's kind of interesting to think about what would have happened if Rommel was able to wasn't stopped at El Alamein. If he was able to capture Alexandria, capture Cairo, capture the Suez. That's like two big things. Like you're capturing Alexandria, which is the chief naval port for the British in the Mediterranean. It's had the biggest dockyards, the biggest if ships got damaged, this is where they came most of the time to get repaired. And obviously the Suez. If you capture the Suez, you cut the British Empire in half. So any aid going to India, any aid going to Australia, New Zealand, has to go all the way around the Cape of Good Hope, which adds like thousands of miles to the trip, which is obviously not ideal. So yeah, it's very interesting to think about. Okay, can we actually... Okay, yeah, we need to send air volunteers. There we go. Speaking of air volunteers, we need to train our fighters so they're not completely green. Alright, so let's get our volunteers. Let's get up here and clean up this north part. So yeah, what I'm doing here, again, if you haven't played the game before, is I'm building civilian factories, which civilian factories are up here, and they basically let you build everything. So like the more civilian factories you have, the more stuff you can build. And you have, where's it at? Consumer goods. Just basically how many of those civilian factories are going to what am I trying to say? How many of those civilian factories are focused on producing goods for the civilian population? And you can change that percentage by introducing new mobilization laws. So if you go right here, we're on partial mobilization. But if I go to war economy, this number will go down, and we'll have more civilian factories to build stuff with. So I always think it's a good idea to build as many civilian factories as you can in the early years of the game, so that by the time like 1938, 1939 rolls around, you can pump all of your civilian factories into making military factories, and you'll be able to make a lot in a very short amount of time. Okay. Yeah, I know. Like I've watched Boko and One. If you're a Hearts of Iron 4 fan, you probably watch Boko and One. He's a YouTuber they play online games. He has a group of friends they all play. And I know like in Spain, the Spanish Civil War, you're supposed to uh, like grind. You're supposed to get your generals different traits by grinding and holding a certain part. Like they usually hold like this river line right here, but I don't know how to do that, so I usually just try to win the Spanish Civil War as fast as possible for the sole purpose that Spain, whenever the Civil War is over, they have a debuff. Like they have one of these that says basically means they're not going to join a faction for 5 years. So I like to get that over as soon as possible, so mid-war I can hopefully have Spain join my faction, which obviously is big because they can capture Gibraltar, which cuts off any access into the Mediterranean from the Atlantic. And then if we can somehow capture Suez, that means the Mediterranean is basically blocked off, and any ships in here are trapped and can't get out. So it's very good to have Spain on your side, obviously. It's also another interesting what if Spain would have joined the Axis in World War II, like they were very close to doing in real life, because they have a very strategic location, and they could have really put a hurting on the British in Africa and in Gibraltar, obviously, because Gibraltar was very defended from the sea, but obviously won't be able to hold up to a all-out invasion by land. Alright, got another one of these. What do we want? This is a good guy to get later on. Military factory construction speed. We've got Heinz Guderian. It's good to get a theorist early because you can get army XP. Which army XP you need to go in here and you can edit your divisions with that XP and make them have different things. Like you can have like a division with tank destroyers or more AA or whatever you want to have in your divisions. You can go in and change that, but you need army experience. Like I just got one right there, and you get army experience primarily from being in combat. So also I can probably go in here and apparently I can't send an attaché. I don't know why. Oh, I need 100 political power. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, we got the north wiped out, so we might try to come right here and try to connect this salient, and that will surround Madrid. And the way supply works in this game is basically the supply comes from the capital, wherever the capital is. So if you surround, you connect this right here, all these units on the east coast will not get supply, and it'll make them slowly start starving, and the units will not fight worth a damn. So it's an option. Also, these guys are fighting a lot. See, are our planes ready? They are. Okay. We're gonna bring our fighters in right here. Got a Eric Hartmann, an ace. Yeah, so aces obviously they make the entire squadron or wing, whatever you want to call it, make them much more effective. Alright, we're gonna go Rhineland. So basically, after history lesson, after World War II, or after World War I rather, Germany obviously had huge war debts to pay, and they couldn't do it, and they started printing a lot of money, and basically caused Germany to be subject to incredibly high hyperinflation, and they couldn't pay their debts because the German Deutschmark was, it's either the Reichsmark or the Deutschmark, I forget. But their currency was basically useless because it had just been printed so much that it was worthless. Like it wasn't even worth the paper it was printed on. So France and Belgium, which Belgium had suffered a lot during World War I because this is actually where most of the fighting was at right here in this little area right here. um, French and Belgian troops marched into the Ruhr Valley, which is this area right here along the Rhine, which is where a lot of German industry is. Like, there's a lot of raw materials here, like mines and stuff. So they marched in there and basically like, okay, if you can't pay us, we're just gonna come in and take the raw materials as payment. And that's what they did. They came in and basically took all the minerals and mining like all the results of the mining stuff, and took it back to their countries and as payment. So yeah. Alright, so let's try to... What's south here? We got one single infantry division. We're about to have some close air support here too. Let's see, they're doing a little bit of damage, not much, but it's better than nothing. The air support, like in real life, obviously, it's very, very good in this game. Like, if you don't have air supremacy, it's going to be very hard for your country to do well, unless you just have an ungodly amount of anti-aircraft equipment in your divisions, which is obviously very expensive too. I think we'll try to maybe do something like this, try to cut off a good chunk right here. Alright, so some of our infantry units that we're training, they're ready to deploy, so let's go ahead and deploy them. And we will put them up here in the north. Yeah, so one of the... if you're wondering, if you're not familiar with World War II and you're wondering why Germany is kind of separated like this, they have this little piece of land. Basically, Germany was formed primarily by the efforts of Prussia, which Prussia was an area kind of consisting of this area. It's a very powerful militaristic state, like in the Middle and Napoleonic era. And they kind of dominated German politics. They had some land over here in the west too. But yeah, this is East Prussia, and like this is West Prussia right here. But basically, after World War One, it was decided that Poland was going to be, because Poland didn't exist before World War One. Like, most of this was Russian land, and then Germany had some of this too, and Austria-Hungary had some of it. And when it was decided that Poland was going to be a country, they're like, the winners were like, okay, we need to give Poland access to the sea. So if they're landlocked, they're going to struggle to do well economically. So they basically just carved a path right through German territory. Like this right here used to be German territory. So Germany used this kind of as a pretext for invasion. They wanted their land connected, and they wanted the German people in the Danzig area to be reunited with Germany itself. So that was one of the big excuses that Hitler used to invade Poland in 1939. Let's see what we got. Anti-tank. Alright. Admiral Hipper. Scharnhorst. I actually have a Gneisenau. I have a Gneisenau model, ship model. If you've ever tried to put a ship model together, that is difficult. I've made a couple tank models. I have a Sturmgeschütz 3, and I have a M4 Sherman, and I just got a SU 122, which I'm going to put together this weekend probably. If you've ever tried to put together a ship model, those things are insanely complex, like almost to an absurd degree. And I'm not an expert modeler by any means. I've just gotten kind of into the hobby in the last few months. But yeah, trying to but those little, like the little anti-aircraft guns are literally like the size of like a hair, like maybe even smaller than a hair. So it's, as you can imagine, it makes it quite difficult to try and place said anti-aircraft guns on the thing. But they're obviously amazing if you're able to put one together. I've watched countless modeling videos on YouTube, and they're pretty awesome seeing the amount of detail and care that people put in. Okay. Yeah, it's important to get your doctrine, especially in land warfare, because it gives you a lot of bonuses. Like, let's just see what's this going to give me. More organization, more speed, and better reinforce rate. So yeah, very important to get all that researched for the war, if possible. Let's see. I don't know. I kind of want to go heavy tanks. They're going to be fun. Maybe get the Sturmtiger. That's, if you've never seen the Sturmtiger, however you want to say it, um, it's amazing. Like, there's only like, I think like 20 something, like 22 built ever, like very late, like 1944, late in the war. But they're kind of insane. Like they're basically they literally took a depth charge thrower off of a destroyer and put it on a Tiger tank chassis, and it shoots a, I want to say like a 380 millimeter rocket, and it's crazy. Like the shells weigh like over 1,000 pounds. It's insane. Like the tank could literally only stow like 15 shells at any time because they were so massive. You know what? Let's go ahead and get an intelligence agency going. But yeah, like I said, like the Storm Tiger is kind of crazy how and it didn't make any sense either because the Germans were, especially at that point. Also, what is going on here? Why are we not winning this battle? It's been going on for a while. What's going on here? Get the air support. We got attacking from multiple directions. Is it like glitched out? What is going on? But yeah, like I said, the Storm Tiger was made 1943, 1944, whenever Germany was already like pushed back to like probably about right here. And like we had Americans and British had just landed in Sicily and southern Italy, and like they make this assault. It's an assault tank. Like it's meant to attack hard reinforced like concrete positions, but that's not very useful in a defensive setting like Germany found itself in. So it's kind of it's weird that they decided to make it. Like it would have very good at that. Like if it ever needed to smash some concrete, it could do that. But yeah, there's actually like an unconfirmed report that a Storm Tiger shot one shot and it took out like something like a dozen Shermans, or not a dozen, like 5 or 6 Shermans in one shot, which is banana. Like they were, apparently the crews weren't in the Shermans, they were like kind of in a field. It was early in the morning, the crews hadn't gotten in their tank yet, and like a Storm Tiger shot came in, that big mortar shot, and it destroyed like 4 or 5 Shermans in one blast, and like they were kind of clumped up together, but still the fact that it didn't have to hit the Sherman directly, it could just land near it and do that much damage to all the Shermans is insane. Okay, so we got Got a little bit of a breakthrough here. Let's wait for these units to move. Oh, never mind. Getting kind of spread out here. I wish the Spanish would send their units in and back me up. But yeah, I think that's a good place to start for this first part. This is fun. I enjoy all things World War II. I hope you, if you didn't, you probably would have clicked off by now. But I hope you enjoy my ramblings about World War II. If I ever become a, if I ever get my doctorate, it's gonna definitely be in something World War II related. But yeah, so next part we'll probably finish up in Spain, and we will probably get right up to the beginning of the war. We'll probably try to take over Austria and Czechoslovakia, and start getting ready to take on Poland here. Yeah. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you watching, and I will hopefully see you all in the next one. See ya.